All right, everyone, welcome to the show. This is Semper Phallus, where you are going to hear about all kinds of different topics going on around the world, mostly in the United States, and how we, the people, are always dicked. Semper Phallus. And we're going to share our perspective with you, being that we're two disgruntled veterans. So let's get started. My name's Alex, and this is Doc.
We're here to show you why we're getting dicked left and right.
So let's get into it. All right, today, while we sit here and enjoy a nice drink, American made, we're going to talk about what we are, what we do. We're going to talk about what's going on in Ottawa with the Freedom Convoy, Governor, quote-unquote Governor, Stacey Abrams, Ukraine versus Russia, or if that is a thing, and no-knock raids. So before we go any further, Doc, why don't you tell me a little bit more about what makes Semper Phallus unique New York?
Well, I think the thing that brought this all together is we were sitting at the firehouse around the table, and we had a bunch of the call company in, and you or me were just tearing into a bunch of talking points and what's going on in the world and the exposure of it, and people got up and left. And the people that were there, like, you two should probably put that on a track and see if you can take that somewhere. So the old adage of, a group of firefighters sitting at a table can solve all the world problems. This is why we're here today. And it took a lot of hard work to get to where we're at right now to this moment.
Yeah. I think a lot of this, what really pushed this to move forward was everything going on in the insanity with COVID and the reaction to COVID, and then the censorship of everything outside of the mainstream narrative, that even if you try to talk about the things being censored and the fact that they are being censored, that's taboo. And people are so tired of COVID now at this point that you really can't even bring it up. I mean, people will just walk out of the room, even though we're still not out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the government oppression, if you will, the totalitarian government takeover that we're suffering through is just continuing every day. They just, they shift and change the narrative and redirect your focus, but you still don't have all your freedoms and liberties back that were once there, pre-COVID.
I think we're actually
a good life.
We're losing some the further we go down this rabbit hole of, I'd like to say, it's left, it's right, it's Republican, Democrat, but it's right down the middle. Both sides were giving it to us. What we've lost, we probably won't get back, because that's just how it works with government and society and throughout history. And I mean, the people that are always for control and dominance of a narrative or the flow of information to the public have never been the good guys throughout history.
No.
I mean, all it takes is opening the last 70 years of history to go, what the hell? But for some reason, you can't get your point across to people anymore. The cognitive dissonance is so just entrenched in these people that, the ones that are the loudest are the ones that are saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to say the right things, you have to talk the right way, you have to accept pronouns and everything. It's just frustrating. At the end of the day, you're walking around, you're like, I don't know what to call people anymore.
Yeah.
Is that the point we're at?
It might be intentional. It might be, I mean, if you look at, for example, Black Lives Matter, the phrase itself is great, because the phrase itself is true.
Absolutely.
But it was co-opted by this corrupt organization that has stolen all meaning from the phrase and vilified that phrase, which really it's kind of sad, because if you were a member of that community, I imagine that phrase could mean something to you. But they've taken all meaning from that. But the reason I went on that to talking about Black Lives Matter is their original charter was to eradicate the nuclear family. And I think the whole plan of that is to just kind of destroy the fabric of society. And I think that's another reason for all these other things that are kind of like changing the way we interact with each other, what we're allowed to call each other, even if you're not being offensive. I mean, at this point, to call anyone anything other than their actual name, you're at risk of hate speech.
Yeah, losing your job.
Yes.
And for someone to lose their job is to lose their life.
Yeah.
It takes away everything.
Yeah. And so, this has all just been magnified and amplified throughout COVID. maybe it's because people are stuck at home, people are out of work, people are anxious, and they're getting this nonstop propaganda in their face that maybe they're ready to rip their hair out or question reality. Who knows? But or maybe maybe this is the actual decaying of a society because how long do civilizations typically last?
Well, I mean, like without tyrants, like in the Greek societies and the city-states back then, you were looking at 40 to 50 years. And the fact we have, the constitutional republic and a democratic system, I think we might be at over the peak and around the other side. And unfortunately, it takes a lot of hard things to make people rough and tough to get things good again.
Yeah. Well, that's that saying that everyone's been talking about lately is hard times make hard people make good times. Good times make soft people. Yep. Soft people make hard times.
That might be true.
I absolutely think it's true. I think it's worse now when you think about how distracted just children growing up can be. I mean, when I was a kid, it was already bad enough because we had so many toys and things we could play with to keep ourselves occupied rather than learning a skill or a trade and helping your dad or helping your mom with something around the house. So there's less and less of that, and now it's even worse because of tablets and cell phones and computers and video games. And I'm not against any of those things because I think with moderation anything's good.
Actually, technology is wonderful.
Yeah. Well, here we are.
Yeah.
The whole thing is technology that I can't build this stuff myself. But like you said, it's tough times and tough people are what have to. That's what's going to get us out of this. Right. And so, going along those lines, we're watching right now in Canada, in Ottawa, the
convoys,
the Freedom Convoys are actively protesting, and it's a truly peaceful protest, not like last year.
No.
Not like 2020. This is a peaceful protest. There aren't flames behind them with Wendy's burning down.
And those peaceful gatherings were backed by mostly leftist politicians. I think when the George Floyd thing happened, there was a moment in this country for about 4 days.
Yep.
And we were like, everyone's on board. What happened was wrong. It was evil.
100%.
That guy needs to be charged to the full extent of the law. And then they decided to start burning Little Caesars. And it's like, you lost us. We were at the adults' table and you left.
Now, do you think they had that planned, or do you think that was the typical, and I'm not going to say left or right here, although I know that the way that narrative was manipulated was very left.
Yeah.
And they used that. But we all know that there's kind of this common theme of never let chaos, what is it, like...
never let a crisis go to waste.
Never let a crisis go to waste, because, I mean, that's what they
Emanuel.
did. That's what they did. So, like you said, when that initially happened, everyone was on board with that.
At the table, let's fix this. And then Wendy's and Little Caesars got burnt, and it was like, now it's black versus white, and it should have never been.
Yeah. It became a rather than a unifying force, it became another tool used to divide us.
Just dick us right down the middle.
Conquer us, yes, more dickage happening right there. So I don't know how long the Freedom Convoy's been going on. I
think it's about 3 weeks now.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And then last I heard, it was over. Was it 50 miles?
It was 50. It was the longest continuous convoy in world history, tenfold. Because I believe the longest one was back in 2017.
But that can't be true.
No, it can't.
The media told me that's not true.
Yeah.
I was told it was just.
You got to stop listening, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Well, I don't listen. I don't listen to them. I like to. It's like looking at Spark Notes when I go on Google and search and go through these articles, because I'm like, oh, Freedom Convoy, what's going on? And it's like first headline, and I'm not saying this is the actual headline. I'm just messing around. But first headline's like CNN, like the Freedom terrorists are attacking our nation, and they're committing atrocities. Well, that's not what was really there, but that's essentially the sentiment.
The longest, I guess. Continuous convoy in global history was, I believe, just before the Arab Spring in Egypt. They had a pretty significant convoy, and this one blew it out of the water. And now you have, I guess, they're saying about 5,000 truckers right around the circle of Ottawa, where most of Canada's government is located. And the hamster that is Justin Trudeau still has not come out to see his communist shadow yet.
No.
If he did, he'd probably tuck tail.
No, but But he caught COVID. He was sick.
Yes, very sick.
Yeah.
How opportunistic.
How convenient for him to catch COVID being fully vaccinated and double boosted and mandating that on everyone. The whole purpose of the protest is the mandates because they don't
work.
They don't believe that it works, but they're not even fighting against efficacy. Actually, some of the truckers came out and said, we're not debating efficacy.
We're not anti-vax.
We're not debating side effects. This is strictly
Mandate.
no mandate.
Yep.
No mandate.
I mean,
not an argument about the science.
I mean, these people are some of the politest protesters. I mean, they're living up to the stereotype of being the nicest Canadians.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you know? We're gonna go to a protest and we're gonna circle the government with our trucks and have some coffee and dance.
You want me to snow blow your driveway so you
get
can
it
join
done.
us?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a terrible
That's
Canadian
probably
accent.
they're gonna watch this and go, you
Like,
Yanks.
we're your neighbors, man. So sorry if we're destroying that horrible attempt at an accent. But
I support them 100%. They're peaceful. They're I mean, we've got a video that will show they're just fun-loving people. They're trying to get a point across. And the narrative is they're terrorists, they're Nazis, they're destroying war memorials, they're just upsetting the status quo. And now the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are coming after them with some intelligence gathering, and it's just not pretty. But we got a video we'll play of these monsters.
all right, you ready for this?
Send it.
Goddamn terrorist! Gotta turn that down. Look at how these people are villainous.
You know what? They all need to be in jail. Just put a wall around it like we did at the Capitol for the inauguration. To the gulag, straight to the gulag. You're done. Do not pass go.
I'm amazed. You know what? It's not peaceful enough. There aren't enough fires to keep people warm.
That's what it is.
Just to stay warm.
Just to stay warm,
You know? I mean, it's cold up there.
Well, yeah, I mean, these people are doing it like, if you wanted a peaceful protest, I think they've hammered it. They did it the right way. And what GoFundMe did to them and their fund gathering, they had like $11 million.
I think it was 10.
$10 million. $10 million. And GoFundMe was like good to go. And then the forces that be through the whatever. And then GoFundMe's like, no, we can't release your funds.
Well, the way that happened, this is my assessment, the way I saw it. Now, this is, from my point of view, but also from, other people that are kind of dissecting the topic. But you watched in the news, like through different media outlets, they were running these smear pieces saying that these are white supremacists, saying these are Nazi sympathizers, calling them fascists.
Right out of the playbook.
Literally calling them fascists.
Which word haven't we used?
For opposing fascist mandates. You couldn't make it up, right? And then there were police reports of allegedly members of the protest attacking people on the sidewalk.
It was not true.
I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but you know what? We're talking about maybe one person out of how many thousands?
Well, it's always an anecdotal agitator in a group, like Ray Epps. Oh, sorry, delete that. Ray Epps is not a real person.
No, that's why they scrubbed it. That he's not real. But no, so all right, so they then GoFundMe use this information. Now, this is just my summary, but so GoFundMe uses that information, and then they put out some sort of press release after they've released $1 million of the funding to the organizers.
Right, about 10%, yeah.
Yeah, and then they, going off of the media information that had been put out, I don't know if there was an official press release or not, but they essentially said that because of the connections of these groups with violent extremists, and now it's become an occupation.
Yeah, that's what it is. The word they're using is occupation.
That now they have frozen the funds. So they froze the funds, and now there's $9 million.
And they said they weren't going to return any, too.
Well, it gets worse. It gets worse before it gets better.
Just feel it going in.
So they froze the funds, right? Yeah. It's good. Froze the funds. Then the government allegedly says that they are considering seizing the funds.
Correct.
And then everyone's like, shit, no, that's...
Yeah, no
way.
way.
Give them... The last person those people wanted their money going to is the Canadian government. They donated
the
to
ones
the
they're
protesters.
No, you can give them the money. It'll be fine, don't you know?
So, then there's a backlash about that. So then GoFundMe allegedly says, request a refund and you'll get it back.
Correct.
But then I don't know if there was a refund fee or what.
So they're going to get a cut. Well played, GoFundMe.
No, I didn't dig too deep into this, but then I see people finding their own tool to fight against that, And because the money went to GoFundMe and it went to this charity and it went for this reason, but then GoFundMe decided that we might use it for something else because they allegedly talked about
Correct.
going to different charities. These people involved with this were saying, well, let's redirect let's notify our banks that this is a fraud claim, and then they get a back charge. So then GoFundMe would be charged, I don't know how much, like $15 per person.
Ouch.
How many thousands of people do you
Ouch.
think donated?
Ouch.
So GoFundMe sees this is happening, and all of a sudden, we're returning all the funds.
This is like the Robin Hood of what happened last year with the short sale of
Oh,
GameStop.
don't get me into that. No. But yeah, so now they're gonna just give everyone back their funds.
Okay, well, I mean, if they're not going to follow through, I say return everyone's money. And
Yeah,
then
little late,
somebody
but-
who makes a lot of money and who has the ability to do these things should make a website and get lucrative with it and not be biased.
Well, allegedly, there's Give, Send, Go.
Okay.
I've never used
I never
it.
used that. Everyone's
But
GoFundMe's got all the...
I've never had to raise money for myself. So,
Correct.
And most of the people around me have done okay. So, or at least haven't found themselves in really dire circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't had to organize a fundraiser for someone. But allegedly, Give, Send, Go is a good one. I saw someone was putting Subscribestar, which I thought was a subscription-based service, but I don't know. Maybe they offer a donation charity arm, charitable donating fundraising arm, but who knows? So yeah, just if it's me from this point forward, not only will I never donate to
never.
a GoFundMe
Nope.
again, but every chance I get to run their dicks in the dirt,
Yep.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
You know,
Dick 'em.
Yeah, always dicked.
Dicked.
They're gonna get it.
So yeah, as you can see in the video, these people are out there. They're doing it right. They're
Oh yeah,
they're,
I'll put it back up.
they're fantastic human beings, and they're spreading their word peacefully. And this movement has gone global. It's gone multi-continental, global. They're in Melbourne and Canberra and New South Wales, and they're in Australia pushing the same referendums. And the Australian police are being kind of no holds barred about it, but you can see that for yourself. Just research it.
I want to add one thing.
Yep.
Going back to the GoFundMe thing, one of their biggest contentions, with why they could not give these funds or would not give these funds to the Freedom Convoy organizers, was because of the phrase. They phrased it as it has become an occupation.
Right.
What about the occupation at CHOP? I mean, they later changed it to Chaz because they couldn't occupy it.
Well, that was their own self-governing country
I might have that reversed. Was
for
it
a short
CHOP
amount
or
of
Chaz
time.
first? Do you remember?
It was We the People of Chop, or the Democratic Republic of
Chop,
Chaz.
Chop.
Chaz? I don't know.
I don't know. Chaz Reinhold.
Oh God.
Who is a legend. No, but that was literally an occupation. They
And
even put it in their
funneled
own
money
name.
to it. They funneled cash to
They
it.
didn't just funnel money to it. They advertised for them.
Yep.
They were sharing posts about Chaz Chop on their social media pages. And it literally was an occupation. People died there.
I know.
And they burned down police precincts. And then here we have, in Ottawa, we have a Freedom Convoy of truckers who are opposed to mandates.
In the
that
freezing cold.
That are peaceful. They're having dance parties like this one that you guys all see on I think the left side of your screen. I think it depends where you're watching from. But the people dancing with
They're having a
Canadian
blast.
Yeah, I love the F Trudeau flags. I don't know why I said F. We're already swearing all over this, but it's ridiculous. They got their hockey jerseys on, doing a conga line.
Is there a polar bear out there somewhere?
It's like Senor Frogs, but in Ottawa, in the middle of winter.
South of the border in
Yeah.
Ottawa.
Yeah.
And they look like they're having a blast. I mean, and like I was saying, it's happening in Australia, Canberra. They've got it going on there. And then I guess next month in D.C. they have another Freedom Trucker Convoy headed to D.C. Now, I know that happened a while ago. I don't know if it'll happen again. The Alphabet Boys like to get their hands in that and kind of muddy it up a little bit.
They put a kibosh on the trucker convoys trying to go to D.C.
Yeah, because...
Or at least on their social media pages. They banned them immediately.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at D.C. strategically, you look and see that the 695 or 606 beltway that surrounds it, if you go around that, you occluded the capital from all resources, and strategically that's scary to them. As it should.
I would never want that to happen.
Don't think about that, anybody. Don't. It's a numbers game.
I would never want that. All right. So, this one's totally off topic, but it needs to be discussed.
What do you got?
So we could, every topic we've talked about so far, so I guess it's not too bad. But so far, every topic is more or less affiliated with COVID, whether it be the response or the protest against, or the crazy censorship as a result. But in other news, Stacey Abrams,
That's Governor Abrams.
I apologize. Maybe one day, Governor Abrams. So she's been photographed. I don't know if she was reading to these children or not, but she was photographed with a group of children.
Look like kindergartners.
Yeah, and they're all wearing masks, every one of them, because they still live under their masters, and they're all wearing these masks. And Stacey Abrams, who is a person who is in favor of the masks, she's sitting right in front of them.
Big supporter of face coverings.
Of course.
Covers up that gap.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people get away with it. Michael Strahan's got a hell of a gap, but no one's going to mess with Strahan.
Nope.
Well, maybe CNN might. Is he on, or is he ABC?
No, he's ABC.
ABC.
He's also been in space now. Good for him.
Yeah. Well, I listen to a lot of other podcasts, and they all joke about how, they put him in a dress and all this. The other podcast is No Agenda. It's great. If you don't listen, you should. But yeah, no. So she is sitting there, mask-free, smiling ear to ear, obviously happy.
What do they call it? You can't call it Indian style anymore. It's crisscross. You can't.
Applesauce.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because Indian style.
I don't know.
Is it Native American? Is it subcontinent? We don't know anymore.
I don't know. Well, if I'm being honest, I don't know if they called it crisscross applesauce for woke Me Too reasons, or if it was just because it was an easy little rhyme for kids.
Maybe.
But yeah, I remember crisscross applesauce when I was a kid was like a game you'd like draw on people's back and stuff. I don't know.
That's odd.
I don't know.
Whatever happened while you were a choir boy, it was fine.
It was never with adults, okay?
Choir boy stuff.
No,
were you an altar boy when that happened?
No. Actually, I got laughed out of church because when I was very little, I didn't know who Jesus was, and apparently when you're
Jesus?
Apparently when you're in 6th grade, you're supposed to know that.
Know that.
I didn't know.
Especially at Catholic school.
Yeah. Well, it was when I was at a Baptist church, and I was probably the only person who'd ever stepped foot in there that had no idea what religion was. I had never even heard of religion.
Outstanding.
And we moved down south, and obviously, my parents are trying to get acclimated. They want us to kind of mesh with the society, the culture around there, and a lot of our neighbors went to this church.
Yeah, you were down in Savannah, right? Georgia.
Yeah.
Stacey Abrams, neck of the woods.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to claim that, but Savannah is a beautiful place.
Sure is.
And so we're down there, and I don't know the name of the Baptist church other than it was a Baptist church. It was in Isle of Hope. It was a beautiful church, but I didn't know. It's weird to swear in the same sentence, but I didn't know shit about Jesus.
Hey man, the first step is announcing you have a problem.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd forgive me because
that's his thing.
That's and
MO.
that's not
that's
a terrible sin. So, but anyway, so the hypocrisy that is, I mean, she might as well just be a mascot for hypocrisy because she's not an actual politician. So
she's not the governor.
She.
According to her, she won.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Sadly, according to Trump, he won.
Yeah.
So I can't make fun of her that bad, other than her hypocrisy. So
right, the glaring hypocrisy of that stage
and
picture.
And to sit in front of these children that you're, first of all, as far as I know, they have still not proven that children are a vector for COVID. So if children are not a vector, if children are of little to no risk of getting severely sick or dying from COVID.
Correct, as they stay in that same group mostly for their time.
And because they don't have, at least from what I've heard, it sounds like because children don't have this robust and experienced immune system, it doesn't have this overwhelming attack against COVID.
Right, the immune response, yeah.
We have this massive immune response, which is actually dangerous for us. And I don't mean us, because we're not in that age bracket, but elderly people that have been exposed to more throughout life, allegedly, they have a much more potent immune response, and it's so overwhelming that it's actually a detriment.
Right, it creates those what they call the cytokine storms, where the cells they can't stop, and that just cascades into multi-system failure.
Yeah, and so, but with these kids, they don't have that. So
right,
so kids aren't really at risk. Let's qualify it, like, as far as I know, I guess. But they're still going to make them wear these masks. Stacey Abrams is going to sit there right in front of them, parading around the fact that she doesn't have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And these plebs and these little peasant
Little
children,
serfs.
these serfs better wear their masks when they're around me, because I'm a special mascot for the politicians.
I think at this point it's more social conditioning at this point. I mean, no one wants to, I mean, you and me go on calls, and if we don't have to wear them, we try not to. If we can,
Well,
if we can socially distance, we try to keep our space and everything. But
I don't socially distance from anyone. I'll put on my mask and stuff because I'm forced to. Like,
we are forced to.
I don't need Chief to get a call because someone noticed that I was
Correct.
breathing in a patient's face. So
yeah, no, don't do that.
I don't think they do anything. I think they do enough for like droplets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what they're designed for.
Yes. So, I mean, I wear it because I'm at work, and I work in a medical setting. If I worked at the post office, you'd be hard-pressed to see me wear that.
Yeah, I don't see them wear them either, out doing the rural routes.
But, so I wear it, but I don't social distance. So, like, if we have a patient who's ill with COVID, allegedly.
Right, we take precautions.
And in my experience, it's anecdotal, but most of those people are fully vaccinated. I will lean right in. And I don't care if I don't wear a hazmat suit. I just lean right in and scoop them up.
Yep. It's time to
Pick
go to
them
work.
up. If they want to go to the hospital, then I'm gonna get them ready, get them prepped, put on the stretcher, get more vitals, and get going. If they don't want to go to the hospital, I'm just like, what blanket do you want?
Well, I mean, that I know we got a little away from Stacey and on to COVID now, but I mean, for the most part, we get called to COVID now. It's more of an education to the people, because they'll take those home tests. And like, I called 911, I was positive, and it's like, I don't know what to tell you. We're not going to do anything for you. Your vital signs are fantastic. I can take you to the hospital. It's going to cost you $1,000
Or more.
And I'm taking you right to the waiting room. Do not pass go. Do not go to triage. Straight to the waiting room.
I guess even though it's not really associated with the podcast, that's an important message for anyone that
The
calls,
911 system.
that calls 911. If you're not truly life or death, and let's say the ER is somewhat busy, you're not getting into the
For hours.
ER or into a bed any faster than if you were to roll in there on a bicycle or walk in there.
Yep.
And I only say it with those like roll in or walk in because in reality, if it's not really life or death, most of the time you could just walk in.
Absolutely.
But there are special circumstances. But pretty much you don't get in there any faster. It's based on need. So if your circumstances are bad and your health is at risk, your life is at risk, you will get in there quickly.
Absolutely. And we will make sure you go into the front of the line, and we'll be with you from the moment you're in our care in the ambulance till you leave that. You're going to get priority care.
Yep.
I'm gonna do a little French lesson here, just in case anyone watches. Triage is a French word. It means to sort.
Yes.
So they're gonna sort you by need and what they can offer. So just a little education. You don't get front of the line privileges.
Nope.
No. Way to build on that.
All right. So, but anyway, so we've all had enough. We've all watched this hypocrisy. We've watched Anthony Fauci, the doctor. We've watched him get up on stage without a mask and then put his mask on to talk. We've watched all the other politicians and their handlers, standing off screen without their mask and then put them on whenever they're going to be on screen.
Especially the White House press secretary.
Yeah.
You'll see her have her mask come out, and it's like
PSAC?
But everyone in the fucking gallery has to have a face diaper on.
And we've watched this it's over 2 years now.
Right.
I mean, not them, but this whole thing's been ongoing for over 2 years.
And we've seen the ebb and flow of this whole virus as it's a normal thing, and now we're coming almost to the end of cold and flu or flu rodent season now.
But so now we're starting to see, I wouldn't even say starting to. I think even the blindest to the or the most, I don't know, the people that have fallen prey worst to the propaganda, even they are starting to see. They're starting to see.
Well, the burnout's happening.
Well, that and the economy is crumbling. Like, I mean, whether it be inflation, which I'm not associating directly to Biden's administration.
Well, the last one had a lot to do with it.
I mean, if you look at the M1 money supply, look at the money printed.
Yep.
Inflation is a problem that is going to go on for a while. They printed more money than ever. It's absurd the amount of money that was printed. But now, we still have policies preventing businesses from just opening. We have problems with transport and logistics. You have ships and stuff that are all stuck in port.
And then the trucks.
And the trucks. Now, I support the movement. I support Freedom Convoy.
There are consequences.
Yeah, but there were consequences before they even did it.
Yep.
And honestly, because of the guidelines in Canada, they were slowing down transport anyway, because if you weren't vaccinated, you couldn't come in.
You couldn't come back
American.
across. You had to get a PCR test, wait, quarantine.
Yeah, and you'd have to wait for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that means every time a trucker goes back or forth, they're going to lose several weeks. So you lose your workforce. You probably lose 100% of your workforce every couple of weeks.
Yes.
Not saying that it recycles. It's not a turnover rate, but you have this delay.
You're out of service for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and so now what happens when countries throughout history find themselves in economic turmoil?
Well, there's a couple things that can happen, and most of them are not good.
Well, no, go on. They're all not good.
So what's going to happen is there will be a logistics and supply shortage, and if you weren't prepared, if you weren't ready to grow your own food, if you didn't know how to hunt, if you didn't prepare yourself for the consequences of this and how to take care of you and yours, it can get pretty ugly. And the problem is you may have, the skills to do it, but when the people down the road haven't, and they watch their kids go hungry, or they haven't been able to get them food for weeks on end, it can get ugly real quick. And we've seen that throughout history with, supply shortages. And it doesn't help that when you go to the grocery store now, you can't buy as much as what you used to be able to, and that is going to have consequences real soon.
So, let me get back to the mic. By the way, I apologize. I'm slamming my drink down a lot, so I don't know how loud it is on the when you're listening to this. Now, internationally, what typically happens on let's say international relations with other countries?
War.
Yeah,
War.
That's all I was looking.
It's a resource. War has always been resource.
Yeah. So now I wonder. So, are we or are we not about to go to war with Russia? Yeah, I know.
Ukraine is not a NATO ally. However, we did sign an agreement with them that we would offer them protection in exchange for them removing their nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Now, it's not. I know it's Section 5 or 6, whatever NATO is, that if one NATO country is attacked, all others come to defend. But Ukraine is not a NATO country. They want to be in NATO,
but they never applied, allegedly.
No, they get candor about it. Just anytime someone pokes their head around Russia.
Well, did you see? I don't know how true this is. I don't study the United or NATO because I wish we weren't a part.
I wish we weren't a part of it as well. Just a way to get into a bad fight.
I don't know who I was listening to, but they had a report. They were talking about how to be accepted into NATO, it needs to be all 30 countries' representatives unanimously have to vote to have you in. Which means let's say Ukraine wanted in.
Right.
And they had some country that they just weren't on great terms with.
Iceland.
That didn't want them in. They're not getting in.
Right. Iceland's like, I don't want to go to war with them.
Which is even more ridiculous when you factor in that they gave up their nukes. Or
on the promise we would protect them.
Yeah, under that promise. So now, in Russia, in the news, you're seeing reports of Russian forces congregating in specific areas just on the perimeter of Ukraine.
Yep.
As if they're staging for an attack. Yeah, in Belarus. And so these reports are going on, and I find it difficult to believe, mostly because I don't see this being all that advantageous to Russia when not that long ago parts of Ukraine voted to just join Russia.
Correct.
I don't know if I believe the vote, but if we're going to assume that the vote was real, then they just voted. So why does Russia need to attack Ukraine to take over?
Yeah, what happened back with the Crimea annex, Russia just kind of swooped in and took the little tiny peninsula.
Yep. And
now it's theirs. Now it's Russian territory. And for the most part, if you take Kiev and you split that river that goes all the way down to the sea, everything east of that is for the most part Russian ethno-cultural. They speak the same language. They share the same history. And what happened during the Holodomor and everything, it affects Russia pretty significantly with their history in that part of the Ukraine. I don't know. It's a lot of troops to amass on a border to go, we're just having training, when Russia has all that country to do training in. That's the only thing that I'm skeptical about.
Yeah, I mean it's a massive it's a landmass of no other real comparison.
Yeah, and you're going to train right on the border and off the coast.
Yeah,
it doesn't look good.
You look at it on a map and it looks like the United States has comparable size, but in reality, it's not even close.
It's like 3 times the size of the U.S.
If you can see on the screen, I just pulled up the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Where are Putin's troops? This is in the Guardian. It's not behind their paywall or anything like that. I just want everyone to take a second to look at this here. I'm sorry, but these don't look like troops ready to deploy. They don't look like... Now, this is me talking from, once a Marine, always a Marine.
It's a vehicle depot.
Yeah, former enlisted in the Marine Corps. This looks to me like any other vehicle depot. These don't look like... They don't look strategically positioned to launch an immediate attack.
Not an immediate attack, no. But you're absolutely right. Now, if they were taking all those hundreds of vehicles and positioning them out, doing high-speed avenue approaches and troops were moving and tanks were moving and armor and air was staging, I would be concerned. I don't think they're there, though.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much to gain and there's more to lose if you're Russia, I would assume. Now, Russia has is it the Nord Stream 2 pipeline? Is that there?
That's the one that I believe goes into Germany.
So another thing that's being covered lately is, they're saying that it's not active, right? They're saying that
it's not up and running or
but
something like that.
They say it's not complete. It's complete.
Right, they're making money.
If they pushed the button today, which one reporter said when trying to grill them about it, or asked when grilling them about it, if they pushed the button today, they could send any fluid they wanted through that to Germany, to the EU.
Right.
So,
it's a cash cow for the Russians.
Yeah, they're not gonna compromise that,
No,
right?
no way.
I think this whole thing to me feels like a distraction, whether it be a distraction from the fact that our economy is in the garbage, or a distraction to say, look, we're at war, so that's why resources are, scarce.
Yeah, and we don't present strong leadership like we have in the past with the Reagan, the Bushes. Even Bill Clinton didn't get messed with too bad.
Dude, you know what? Babies can lead the government.
Honestly, yeah.
Tommy from Rugrats was a leader.
He sure was. Tommy
and
Pickle.
Biden is a lot like Tommy, except not as coherent.
There's some poop in the pants, too, from what I heard. Trip to Italy was not unblessed.
It's fine. You know what? Trump might not have been a great leader, but he got a good amount of peace agreements going towards the end there.
Yeah, I mean he was
But he was coherent. He was coherent. I'm not coherent.
He was getting blood out of a rock, getting the Arabs to come to the table with the Israelis. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of gain in the invasion of Ukraine. I know we said that we'll tolerate a minor incursion. I don't know what that means. I
don't think there's a lot of gain in any physical war anymore. I honestly
not
think,
at this point.
I think
with
that
the nations,
we've gotten to the point in history where, because of the technology that we have, physical land combat isn't really. I mean, obviously it's still going to happen, but it's not going to be the primary means of warfare. I think, as much as I know Russian collusion was a total hoax, and the dossier was fake, I do think that infiltrating the culture and kind of getting your claws in to the younger generations, I think that's what warfare is now. Because they have access to them.
Yeah, they say everything's going to be internet, cyber warfare. Yeah, I get it. We're going to screw with them. They're going to screw with us.
Well, think about the messages that can be sent. Now, I don't know which ones specifically, but everyone's on Facebook. Everyone's on YouTube. Yep. Everyone's on Instagram, Twitter. Well, not that many people are on Twitter, but people are on TikTok. People are on Getter, TikTok, all those.
Yep.
Snapchat, all of them.
All of it, yep.
But the biggest thing to remember about most of those, not all of them, is that they're accessible to other countries.
Right. They're seeing what our social projection is, if that's a term. But they're seeing that we have a trans admiral, that we're worried about this and that with our military, and it's not. It doesn't seem like we're in the fighting mode anymore.
I'm so irritated by that. All right, so the idea of a trans admiral, it'd be fun.
And that's a public health official, not a naval admiral. I want to be clear on that.
Which is also odd. But they announced it. I'm going to get off topic a little bit, but they announced that she was the first female.
Oh yeah.
It's like, stop that.
Stop. You're taking away from female.
It seems
awards and superlatives. It's not right.
They have stolen everything from women. And it doesn't matter, like, you could look at this, whoever's watching this could look at me and say, oh, well, you're just a conservative white
transphobe
guy. But really, I mean, and I'm not even a conservative, I'm pretty libertarian. I actually believe in some socialized policies.
Commie.
But, well, I send my kids to school.
Right.
I argue a lot about what's happening in the school, but, like, there's this understanding in the community that, like, we're going to pool our money together so that we can give our kids a better option for
absolutely.
education.
But the problem is our property taxes, like 80% of them go to.
Well, here.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
I know it's not for the rest of the country.
But I totally lost it. The whole thing though is like
we're losing women are so important in our society as Americans, and I think to have. If you choose to live your life as an adult a certain way, I mean, yes. we can look at the Penn State swimmer, Leah Thompson, 462nd in the male swimming. The next year comes back and says, I'm a woman, I want to be on the women's swim team, and dominates as number one in the country right now. Yep. And people are upset. And I think
you can't even be mad at Leah Thompson, though. Leah Thompson's playing by the rules.
You know what? You're right. And she's doing what is allowed.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, these women who have spent most of their formative years through high school and college and really define their sport, their academics, for what now? For what?
Yeah. And you would think that more people would come out and stand beside women.
On that, Caitlyn Jenner from California, former Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn, lives their life however they...
Former Olympic gold medalist.
Well, not former. They're still an Olympic gold medalist.
No, that was a different person.
That was a different person.
Otherwise,
Caitlyn did not win them.
Otherwise, you're dead naming.
I don't even know what that means, but thanks for shaming me.
I didn't shame you. Well, no, because you talked about it in past tense.
Yeah.
According to what I've seen on the interwebs, if you use the old name, it's dead naming.
She came out and said, hey, listen, we have to protect women's sports. And I totally agree. I mean... Yep. They bust their butts to have fair competition just like the rest of us. And there are rewards for being the best at what you do. And now you're saying somebody who is, XY going against XX chromosome, but XY has different body features, which is inherent to male DNA. We're faster, we're stronger.
Yeah.
That's just the way evolution designed us.
Yeah, and if you look, in the sports that involve physical contact, we've created that protected kind of class system in sports. In sports that are, that our biology doesn't make the difference, like chess and like things like that.
Curling.
Yeah, curling. We allow competition.
Absolutely.
Between the different sexes. It's only when there's a biological difference that it matters, especially in, when you're talking about a physical contact sports. Joe Rogan has talked about Fallon Fox and how Fallon Fox decimated women.
Broke jaws.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was brutal. If you didn't know, like the first time watching it when I didn't know Fallon Fox was formerly a man.
Right.
It was amazing to watch. I was like, this person's they're gonna crush
Number one.
There's no one's gonna touch him.
Him.
Touch is what I meant. But after I learned that Fallon Fox used to be a man, now it just feels like a crime.
Well, yeah, it's called domestic abuse.
It feels so wrong.
Well, because we're taught to grow up, you don't hit women.
Yeah, well, no, you don't. And so, now you've got more and more reports of physical contact sports where women want, or women's physical contact sports where men want to play as women.
Yeah,
men transition to play as a woman. And it's just, unless that person decided at birth, which is impossible.
Correct.
To not go through puberty, to not ever have the male hormones in their body. Now, they already had prenatal, I think that's the term, like before birth, hormones, men's hormones are much different. So there's already an advantage if you're talking physicality for some.
Absolutely.
It's not guaranteed, but, I don't think many people would argue.
No, especially.
And if they did, I don't know if I'd listen.
Yeah, it's kind of just taboo science, if that's their argument.
So,
Pseudoscience.
These protected classes that we've created, or the protected sports that we've created, the intent is men's sports are open to everyone.
Correct.
There's no such thing actually as men's sports.
Like high school football.
Yeah.
That's not boys football.
Men's sports are literally sports.
Right.
And then if you look based on biology, based on, body types and things like that, then you have different protected classes, whether you have women's sports or what is it? Like disabled sports.
Oh, the like Paralympics.
Yeah, Paralympics. So, those are what are we going to allow now? Like if someone just decides one day that, hey, I should be in the Special Olympics because I identify as what?
Like Usain
What is
Bolt.
it? Hemiplasia? What's one-sided weakness?
Hemiplasia.
Yeah. So all of a sudden now they can say they have hemiplasia, and now they want to be in the Special Olympics, but they don't actually have anything wrong with them. But you can't argue with them because if you do, then you're a bigot. So
Right, and that I think that's the area like we're headed. If we're not already in, it's like, what are we doing? What do we gain as a society to allow that? Because for a long time that was called self-mutilation. You know what I mean? There were like deep psychological analyses that had to happen with these people. Like, why do you feel that way?
I have in the Marine Corps, people found videos of self-mutilation. Oh,
Yeah, it's bizarre.
I don't understand how someone could do that if they were not in another world, another dimension.
I think as a society, we shouldn't support that type of behavior.
Yeah, well, I mean, the human nature, if you will, is to live, procreate, and then foster your, the upbringing of your children.
Yep.
Take care of them, make sure they do well.
Exactly.
And normally, under most circumstances, everyone's goal is to try to provide a better life for their kids than they had of their own. I feel like I had a decent life. I think a lot of people that know my upbringing would say I didn't. But I still turned out okay.
That's still up for debate.
Yeah, no, I know. But my kids are getting totally different experience
Absolutely.
than what I ended up with.
Better than you did, right?
100%.
And that's the goal.
100%. So, I feel like that's kind of the steps, growing up, the steps are, how do I fit in with my dudes? If you're a guy, let's say it from the male perspective. How do I fit in with the dudes? Then, I like that girl. How do I get this girl? Then, okay, so long term, I need to do well to maintain this relationship with this girl and start a family. Okay, so then men don't really focus, I don't think, on education until a little bit later because they start to realize
Correct.
that you need it.
Yeah.
Because before the priorities were different, and then they figure it out. So then they go after, they go to get the education that they want, and then next step is get that job that they want, and then it's all family focused, but sprinkling in all the, you can't ignore the effort and.
Well, that's what we started with, the whole just dissolving of the nuclear family.
Yes.
You're building the nuclear family.
Yeah.
And that's how you progress a society.
And now we have the nuclear family is like I am for the most part creating the nuclear family. We are the Elrons? What? Not the neutrons. Well,
Alpha particles?
No.
Gammas.
No,
X-rays.
No, it was a cartoon.
Man, I'm running out of
It was
stuff.
a cartoon. Elroy? No, he was the kid.
The Jetsons?
The Jetsons, dude. The Jetsons. We are the nuclear family. No, so I'm trying really hard, and so it's going full circle to where we started in this video here is the idea of destroying the nuclear family is actually the destruction of the country.
Oh, it's the quintessential backbone of this country.
Yeah.
From founding to where we are today is
Yeah.
what it is to be American is being destroyed.
Yeah, and even the groups that support it, like BLM and their advocacy for the destruction of the nuclear family is counterproductive. It's counterintuitive to what they want, because if BLM stands for what their name implies, then it means that they want black people to do well. They don't want them to be held back
Or targeted.
So they want them to do well. The nuclear family provides that because you have two people advocating for you at all times, and one of them is a hard ass.
Right, the male.
Well,
Usually.
the male is the hard ass in outside of family situations.
Correct.
Like if there's an outside force acting against the family,
He steps up.
If it's inside of the household and discipline, like normal discipline, I would say most of the time mom does that.
Yeah, the matriarch.
It's only when dad's got to come home and handle it that really dad deals with that. But the idea of the destruction of the nuclear family it's completely backwards, because we've seen it throughout the growth of this country, and it only seems to have affected us now that the nuclear family is kind of in decline. We're seeing this decay of our country.
Well, I think the destruction of the nuclear family happened after, and this is a point of contention. I know people will get upset. The Civil Rights Act, I believe it was 1968.
But I don't think it was the Civil Rights Act that did it.
No,
I think
it was
the promises made.
Yeah, and it pushed it. Now we're seeing the destruction of the inner city household, the inner city nuclear family.
Yeah, and it's not even race-based anymore.
It's not.
The destruction of the nuclear family is everywhere.
In those cities, we see the high crime, the high unemployment, the high poverty, the lack of education, and that's a lot of our issues. I mean, and to take a case in point, if you remove those cities, the 7 biggest cities that are having these issues, gun crime, violence, poverty, all that, the rest of America is doing really well.
Yeah.
We have to be able to put what's going on in the rest of America into those cities again. I don't know what that's going to take.
No, me either. A lot of hard work and maybe a lot of removing the media from your household.
Yeah, and the charlatans that sell the snake oil or whatever it is, they need to go too.
Now, one more topic here that I want to talk about. It kind of goes back to
inner city, yeah.
Yeah, well, it kind of goes back to what BLM stood for, at least as we knew it in 2020, when a black man was.
The George Floyd case.
Yeah, when George Floyd was inappropriately handled and led to his death, whether it be brutalized or not.
The fentanyl overdose, whatever.
Yeah, I've watched all the actual police videos for training, and it's not good for anyone. Was it Chauvin? He's guilty. I don't know if he's guilty of murder, but he's definitely guilty of manslaughter.
Absolutely.
And then George Floyd, although he should not be dead, because no one deserves to die at the hands of police, he did not handle himself well in this scenario. That all said, that's kind of what led to the outbreak. That is what led to the outbreak of all the chaos in 2020 and all the riots
in Minneapolis.
and then we saw it in Atlanta, and then we saw it in Kenosha.
Who was was it Ahmaud Arbery?
Ahmaud Arbery was attacked by a bunch of former police or what have you.
There was another shooting that the female cop
Brooks. No, the female cop. That was
in Minnesota as well, wasn't it? So
I don't know.
There's a lot of things that are happening in Minnesota.
So the one that happened with the female cop, I wish I could remember her name. I didn't pull it up.
Mullen?
Well, what'd you say?
Was her name Mullen? Catherine Mullen?
I think so. Hold on.
I think where she said taser, 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 and pop. That's not a taser sound. The Thomas A. Swift electric rifle does not make an audible pop.
No, hold on.
No,
what was his name?
I don't.
Dante
Brooks? Dante Wright?
Dante Wright?
Maybe?
Dante Wright was one of them.
Yep. That's
okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the video.
The shooting of Dante Wright. So let's not go too far into this because I want to talk about what just happened. But what happened with Dante Wright is just another example of things that gave fuel to the fire during all the riots and protests during 2020 and some of 2021. That's not to say that the people rioting were wrong. It's not even to say that anyone was guilty or not guilty. I'm not here to be the judge. But we saw people standing up against, whether it be injustice at the hands of police or injustice, at the hands of protesters and rioters, pretending to be there for for this cause, but really just trying to sow chaos. And now, right now, within this past week, we had a no-knock raid that happened in Minneapolis, which resulted in the death of another black man who was completely innocent, not even named on the warrant.
Was not named on the warrant.
And now, I think there's body camera footage. I haven't seen it.
There is, yep. I've seen it twice.
So now, is it true that in the body camera footage, at least from your recollection, he didn't even have his finger on the trigger, nor was he pointing at anyone?
Yeah, so the police made entry. It was a non-dynamic entry. It was a key into the lock. I don't know where they got the key from. Maybe the soup of the apartment. They opened, they came in, they stacked, they cleared the kitchen to the right, they pushed in the living room, and they're barking, police, search warrant, search warrant. And I don't know about you, but I have a gun next to where I sleep. It doesn't matter where it's just, as a male, I think it's my job to protect my loved ones and myself and my property.
Even if you were by yourself?
Yeah, even if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Your life is sacred to you, and you should be able to defend that.
Yeah. Shall not be infringed.
Shall not. It's real simple. It's the last. It's simple.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't get that. But you see a cop come up, he posts, and he clears the corner of which looks like a sectional in the living room. And there you see the victim, who is wrapped up in a blanket, who reached for his gun. His gun was an FN 5.7, so a relatively expensive pistol. And he had his finger, and you can clearly see it on the what do they call them? WBC's worn body cameras. He has a high index, and he's like throwing the blankets off, trying to see what the hell's going on. And with the high index, the officer executes him right there.
So he's never pointing at anyone.
He was not pointing it at anyone. However, it's something that should have never happened once again. And there should be somebody alive right now.
All right. I'm going to see. Hold on one sec. I might play it. I might not. I'm trying to decide if this is.
Will they show it? There we go.
Oh, my God. They're actually going to show it.
Yeah, they do. Show the key going in the door.
I wonder, do they break away from it?
They
actually
they're going to show it.
We're going to pull it up.
Thank you, CBS Evening News.
We'll do it this way. All right. So this is, let me turn up the volume a little bit, and let's go.
I'm pretty sure they won't show exactly what happens.
Entered the apartment with their guns drawn. In police body camera video, 22-year-old Locke is seen lying on the couch wrapped in a blanket. A gun is visible in Locke's hand just before officers
look at that high index.
fire.
Not pointed at anyone.
9 seconds after entering the apartment.
He had 6 seconds from entry to process what the hell was going on.
From sleep.
From dead sleep. No pun intended.
No, absolutely not.
No,
actually,
but
like not even a joke. So this guy, what was his name? Did they say his name? I haven't.
They have, but these no-knock raids, and I get it. There's a system that works with warrants and everything and high risk. And if we've got bad actors out there doing bad things, I want them off the street. If they've done something and they're named in a warrant specifically, I mean, that's how it's supposed to work.
The legal process exists for a reason. But, all right, so his name's Amir Locke.
Amir Locke, yeah.
All right, so based on what I'm seeing, he's not named on a warrant.
Nope.
He didn't have his finger on the trigger. He wasn't pointing at anyone. He literally couldn't even see. He was still bundled in blankets. The guy couldn't see anything. He was trying to figure out which way was up at the time, and they unloaded on him. This is a perfect example of, one, why no-knock raids should not exist.
They should not exist.
2, why police should not be entering anyone's home. They should just wait. You don't have to. You don't have to break into a home.
Can I demonstrate what should have happened? Police search warrant.
Hello?
I mean, if he doesn't come out, well then okay, whatever. But to kick in a door and kill someone, who's at fault now?
Well, they just unlocked the door.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. When they kicked in the door, that was
Breonna Brooks.
Breonna Taylor.
Taylor, yeah, thank you.
And her boyfriend shot at the cops.
And was justified.
And completely justified. He actually hit a cop in I don't think in the femoral artery, but in the thigh or leg. And the cop did live. And they originally tried to pursue charges, but they dropped him because he had every right to shoot
every single right
at someone invading his home.
Yep.
It's unfortunate Breonna Taylor died. It's unfortunate that anyone ever dies at the hands of the police, but that doesn't discredit that her boyfriend had every right to shoot. Amir Locke had every right to have his gun
And potentially defend himself.
So think about that for a second. If Breonna Taylor, if her boyfriend was allowed to shoot at cops to defend himself, and he was justified in it, then that would mean by default that Amir Locke had every right to shoot at police and was justified in it.
Well, if we're being principled, that's correct.
Yeah, and instead they didn't give him a chance to defend himself.
Or surrender.
I would call what happened to Amir Locke a murder.
There's a lot of negligence here.
It's negligent, but I wouldn't call it manslaughter because you have to actively point. You break in, you point, you pull a trigger. You don't pull a trigger on accident.
No, there's no negligence.
So I don't know if I'd even call it a homicide. This would be like a negligent murder. What murder charge would that be?
Democide. The government killed you.
Yeah.
Because the judge signed a warrant that was made by an agent. And here we are. Now we're talking about this poor kid and his mother, on TV, and it's totally avoidable.
I love how. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I imagine that if I'm watching this CBS video, that they might spin it a little.
Of course they are.
But a little. But they're going to use this one more accurately than they would normally because the message and the way to influence the crowd works already in this video. Because we can all say that these cops were wrong. Why is it? Why do they manipulate everything else to spin a narrative that is so unnatural? Because we can all understand that this is not okay.
What happened should not have happened.
Should not have ever happened.
Right.
And I just worry that they're going to spin this into another thing where they take it, and rather than have everyone unite around the fact that this person should not have been killed, instead they're going to use it to divide us further, just like George Floyd, which we started talking about at the beginning.
Right, we're at the table. Let's make some, because I want police reformation. There's things that are happening in the police force in the United States that don't make any sense. Like, why is there this new attitude of us versus them? It shouldn't exist.
I keep talking over here. I don't think you can hear me that well.
Oh yeah, it's picking up on the mic.
I feel like a lot of that is because police right now feel very much targeted. And it's unfortunate because
I feel like they do it to themselves a little bit.
Well, so the saying goes, I'm sure I'll screw this up, but the saying goes that, if there's one bad cop, but 10 good cops don't stop them.
Right, then you have 11 bad cops.
11 bad cops.
Right, and the problem is the police don't police themselves very well. And after this, you'll see the police will come out. They'll try to get ahead of it as much as they can for PR purposes.
We already saw the video.
Right, they did everything that they could. It just doesn't look good from the onset. But the good thing is that the Minneapolis Police Department will investigate themselves, and they will rule that they did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And that drives me absolutely up a wall.
I'm going to save my response to this because what you just said about how they'll investigate themselves, next video we're going to talk about Wall Street.
Oh, boy.
Because, it's a different crime because it's just stealing money.
It's a lot more money.
I think this is worse because they're directly affecting people that didn't even ask to be a part of it. You have to invest and play in Wall Street, whether it be your retirement or whatever, to be a part of the game. Amir Locke, I don't know his story.
Nope.
I don't need to know his story.
I saw what happened to him.
Yeah. And no one needs to know his story. So even if the media somehow digs up like criminal background about him and he didn't have a clean past, it makes no difference.
He got speeding tickets. It doesn't matter. As far as the police have reported so far, is he was legally allowed to own that FN57. So that says he's not a felon, he's not a domestic abuser, he's not a known drug user.
Yeah, so it sounds like in this circumstance, the police are the criminals.
That's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people in the United States. And listen, I'm not anti-cop, I'm anti-bad cop. And I'm anti-cops that don't do anything to police their own.
The worst part about this, I agree with what you just said, but the worst part about this is you're talking about a community that is still reeling.
Yeah, their wounds are still fresh, and now this.
And this happens in Minneapolis. So
we will see fires again.
This is going to happen again. Well, if I can get on my tinfoil hat for a second, the Wellington Management Company has not managed to acquire all the properties that burned down yet, so they need more to burn down. I'm not saying that's really it, but just do some digging.
Go to give some homework.
Yeah,
Wellington
Management.
Wellington
So
Management. Look it up.
The Wellington Trust.
Hey, just follow the money half the time, right?
Oh, hold on.
Uh-oh.
The Wellington Management Fund, or I don't know. It's. I think it's bigger than Soros.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot tied into it.
Well, I mean, sadly there are a lot of really messed up billionaires. I'm sure there are some that are good. Like Elon Musk seems to be doing well, but I'm leery because it could just be a show to gain public support. So
Well, if it is, it's working.
It
I
is-
mean, he is bucking the system.
It is working. All right. We can't go on much any further now.
Go
But
down another rabbit hole.
so let's tie it up real quick. So based on what we're seeing, the truckers in Ottawa, the Freedom Convoy, terrorists or peaceful protesters?
Fascist. Faust. How dare they sing in the streets?
All right, hold on. I got to turn. Man, we are capping pretty hard.
Got too much gain.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're fine. I love what they're doing. I mean, we're taking freedom inspiration from our neighbors to the north. What are we going to do with our neighbors to the south shortly? Like, where's the inspiration? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Hey, Canada, go get it. Get after it. I love it. Stay motivated.
Yeah.
You have our support.
Stacey Abrams, hypocrite?
Oh, glaring. 100%. Like,
Yep.
straight through the gap.
Russia versus Ukraine. I think this one stays on the fence for now because I don't know. Did I even bring up my tattoo artist and her brother?
You did not. If you
Oh.
want to touch on that real quick.
So my tattoo artist is from Russia. She's only been here for 2 years. Her brother is actively serving in the Russian military. And, obviously I'm making a video right now talking about this stuff, so I don't care how it looks to ask these questions and talk to people
No,
about
absolutely
this
not.
stuff. And so while I was laying there getting some work done to my tattoo, I asked her, what do you think about this? Is this really happening? Is Russia positioning their forces to make an attack against Ukraine? And now I know that this isn't formal intel coming from the highest offices of Russia or the U.S., but according to her and her brother, they are not. They are just doing normal training exercise with Belarus.
Her brother, to be clear, is in the Russian
Yeah,
military.
he's actively serving in the Russian military. So me personally, I think Russia and Ukraine, I think it's a distraction. I'm not saying whether or not it will happen because it could. I mean, only a few years ago, Russia voted to have Crimea voted to join Russia.
Yep.
So I mean, who knows? And then the last thing, what do you think about no-knock raids?
I mean, I'm a big constitutionalist, man. Do I think there's a time and place for it? I do, but I think it's abused at this point.
Yeah, I would say no-knock raids. I don't know if there's a time and place for it now because everyone has to go somewhere.
Yeah, this is an argument. Like, they got to come out eventually.
So there's no reason to put their lives at risk.
Or the public.
And the officers' lives.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're doing a no-knock raid, you don't know what you're going into either.
Yeah, what
which
if
is
you-
also the reason why those cops may have been jumpy and shot at someone when they weren't justified.
Right, because I don't know who the warrant was for. He could have been a known armed, dangerous suspect, and then, there's the gun. Somebody's
Yeah.
in a cover. Bang, bang, bang. And now we screwed up.
Yeah, and I think a part of that, so no-knock raids to me, I think if you know where they live and I would imagine you're surveilling the residents, or if you've gone far enough to get a no-knock raid permitted, then you can easily get surveillance permitted.
Absolutely.
And I would, not that I'm not a fan of police state or surveillance, but I'd rather have people being surveilled.
Right,
than,
with a warrant.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Right.
with a warrant. Than having their door kicked in the middle of the night when they're sleeping, and before they have enough time to even process what's going on, they get shot to death. So I think no-knock raids should not exist, and I think BLM would agree with me.
I think most decent, understanding people would understand that, no knock raids, and this is like, I believe when no knock started happening in the 80s, with the drugs and everything, there was a niche to really get that warrant approved. You really had to know that he was in there. He's a dangerous. We can't go in there without a warrant. I think it's kind of opened up. Now we're seeing this.
Yeah. So I think that about sums up today. Like I said earlier, this is Semper Phallus, where we talk about how we the people
Always getting dicked.
Always getting dicked. Whether it be, our freedoms being taken away or our rights being trampled by the police or the government, or on the global scale, we're watching things happening that are essentially, just a mirage. We're being told to believe something. So I guess propaganda would be what I'm saying. You'll notice behind us, we've got some different kind of collector's items. Ignore the airsoft gun.
It looks cool.
We thought it looked cool, and it came with the orange tip. We're not going to put a saw gun right there behind us when I haven't.
I can't afford one.
Yeah, I didn't go through any checks to get one either.
Yeah.
I imagine I'd have to go through some pretty thorough checks. But this is what we call the bunker, and we hope that you will like and subscribe and join us for more of these. And we'll clip these down if you don't like the long form. If you do, then come back and listen to, every video from this point out. We're going to try to do multiple videos per week, one long form and several clips. How do you want to close this off?
Well, I think, I just want to thank everyone that, came in today and watched, subscribe, like, comment, ring that notification bell. What we're trying to do is just open people's eyes. I know America right now, Facebook, social media, we're all pushed off into camps. And I think that has to do with a lot of algorithms from the social media networks and everything. But at the end of the day, I think if we break it down, we're 95% on the same spectrum.
Yeah.
They have us cornered into these 5% issues that have divided us. And if we open our eyes and we extend our hearts to each other, I think we'll really understand that the problem is not the 5% on the right, the 5% on the left. It's the ones at the top that are splitting us down the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, and like Alex said, like, comment, subscribe, Facebook, website. What else we got?
We've got a bunch. So pretty much if you type in @Semper Phallus, spelled Phallus, Phallus, you'll find us on just about anything. We're on Twitter, we're on Getter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. I think we're on Twitter. I think I already said that. YouTube, we're on Odysee, we're on BitChute. Pretty much everywhere. We're spreading the net wide. We're casting a wide net, mostly because of censorship. So we want to make sure that if any of these different platforms de-platform us, that we're still available.
Still get the word out.
Yeah, so check us out. Search up @Semper Phallus on any of those social media sites that you use, and we look forward to having you.
Awesome.
So have a great night.
See you next week.
And try not to stay dicked.
Yeah, we're always dicked.
Always dicked.